All right, we are going to look at trend lines and predictions with scatter plots. There's one vocabulary word that I have on here that I'm going to go over just because you may see it and I want you to know what it is. Bivariate data is a set of data that is made of two paired variables. So that's pretty much what we've been working with our x's and y's, right? The next one, we've already went over this on the last set of notes, but I wanted to remind you, a trend line is a straight line that comes closest to the points on a scatter plot. So you're kind of trying to cut those in half with your trend line. To draw a trend line, you must have about the same number of points above and below. And again, we're doing our best and we're estimating. We're going to ignore any outliers. You're going to use a straight edge. A ruler is the best thing to use. And then you can make predictions using your trend line. So my first example I have here. So here was my scatter plot with these purple dots here. And I'm not sure if you can tell those are purple. What I did was I drew my trend line here with a ruler. And then my prediction would be where this is at the end. So I can make a prediction about the data beyond what's on the scatter plot. All right, to find an equation of a trend line, you're going to find the slope of the trend line. You choose any 2 points on the line and use the slope formula. This is where you're going to see some variance. You're going to have to be really careful when you're drawing these trend lines. A lot of times they'll be given to you if they're asking for an equation. Two, once you have your 2 points and you've solved for the slope, then you're going to find the y-intercept of the trend line, which is where it intersects or crosses the y-axis. Last, you use your slope and y-intercept to write your equation. We're going to use slope and y-intercept to write our equation using the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. All right, here I have my example for you. Get that sun out of there. My example, here's my scatter plot, and I've already drawn my trend line through there. That's my trend line through here. And as you can see, I've done my best to kind of meet that data kind of right down the middle and equal amount above and below. And I'm following the slope of the data. So what I found was I was able to come up with a point here at 1, 3. So I labeled that x sub 1, y sub 1. And then I have another point at 4, 6. So I labeled that x sub 2, y sub 2. And these are the points that I used to find my slope. And so I used my slope formula. M is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over or divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And then I just substitute my values in there. So y2 is 6, y1 is 3, x sub 2 is 4, and x sub 1 is 1. So 6 minus 3 is 3, and 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So my slope is 1. Then for my y-intercept, all I'm looking for is the y value of where it intersects or crosses the y-axis. And that's here at 2. So my y-intercept is 2, so b is 2. So with my y equals mx plus b, I'm going to substitute my m in there and my b in there. And we do not write this 1 in front of our x here for our slope. 1 is implied when we have that here. It's kind of like the invisible note. You have to, something you need to know that's always there. So you would write this as y equals x plus 2. And when I see no coefficient in front of my x, it's a 1. All right, so I'm going to have you do some practice here. And just know that we're going to be estimating these because of the variance in there. You're not going to be able to find exactly on a lot of these. So for the first one, it says the scatter plot and trend line show the relationship between the number of rainy days in a month and the number of umbrellas sold each month. Write an equation for the trend line. So right now I want you to take and find the slope, the y-intercept, and write out your equation. All right, so the y-intercept is 0, so when b equals 0, we do not write plus 0. That's not something we write. So you should have had something along the lines of either y equals x, or maybe y equals 9/10 x. And if you did the plus 0, it's not wrong. This just isn't necessary. All right, number 2, write an equation. So here's our scatter plot. You're going to, and I realize you're on the Chromebook, so you may have to just put your straight edge over the scatter plot here. And then what is your slope? What is your y-intercept? All right, so the equation that I came up with for this one was y equals 0.08 x, and I did that by estimating. I had right here, I'm going up by 2/10, so I did 2/10 divided by 2, and that got me, so I just did like rise over run. That my trend line right there. And my y-intercept was the origin. So it was again plus 0. I do not write that. All right, the third one here. The scatterplot and trend line show the relationship between the number of chapters and the total number of pages for several books. Write an equation for the trend line. So here we're given a trend line, slope, and y-intercept. All right, I used these 2 points here, and I'm going to label them for you. Point here. Here I have, I'm going to go, that's 2, 4, 5, and I'm up 20, 40, that's halfway. I'm going to say 50. And then the next point that I chose, 14, 16, that's up about 17 on my X. And then how much do I go up? 140, 160. That's about the halfway point, 170. All right, from there, I would label x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and put them into my slope formula. And when I did that, I got 10. So again, my b is my origin, so you should have gotten y equals 10x. All right, number 4, draw a trend line for the scatter plot. Write an equation for your trend line. Use your equation to predict the wind chill to the nearest degree for a wind speed of 60 miles per hour. So as you're drawing these, just do your very best to draw them. And I'm more concerned that you get the notes and the practice on your journal. So if you don't write all these out, it's not going to hurt you. All right, so you should draw your trend line. And when I drew my trend line, it was going through about here, and then it hit right about here. So let me get my ruler. All right, that was approximately where my trend line was, to put my trend line in there. Now I want you to write an equation, and then I want you to use that to predict the wind chill to the nearest degree for a wind speed of 60 miles per hour. And notice where wind speed is for x and y, so you know where to substitute it. All right, so this is where you're going to really see some variance here. The equation that I came up with is y equals negative 1/3 x plus, and this is approximately 12.5 where it's intersecting the y-axis. And you may have left these in fractions. I'm not sure what you did when you did yours. And then to determine what the wind chill was with a wind speed of 60 miles per hour, I put y equals negative 1/3 times 60, that's my x value, plus 12.5. And it wants me to predict it to the nearest degree. So I'm going to have a whole number or an integer here, right? So when I did that, I got negative 7.5, which I rounded to negative 8 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, the last one, multiple choice. Which scatter plot could have a trend line whose equation is y equals 3x plus 10? All right, so we should have immediately eliminated A because it's got a negative slope. And C, the data is not, there's no real association, so I'm not seeing a trend line here that would work for us. So I would have eliminated A and C right away. And then you just need to determine which one works. And that's, you're gonna draw your trend line. And we're looking for a y-intercept of 10. If you look here, that's gonna be lower than 10. And then here, that's got a y-intercept of 10. And it's gonna have the right slope as well. 10 over, that's approximately, yeah, that would work. So your correct answer is B for y equals 3x plus 10. And you should have found 2 points. Use your slope formula, and the y-intercept is right there. All right, if you have any questions, please contact me and have a great day.